Hey, I'm Travis T-Bone Turner.
I'm Nick Mundt.
And I'm Michael Waddell, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowmen Podcast. The Bone Collector Crew's on here this week.
Give him a beat.
Grab this right under Travis. Wiki. Just out of high school, I got into tournaments. There's a lot to be said about the magical flight of the arrow. I mean, just like, you have to suppress your nervous center. Just everything about archery, as well as working on yourself, because we all know that, the equipment's one thing, but once you got a good solid unit, it's going to stay together. You got to work on yourself.
Myself and Nick are not feeling like we're shooting good, or we feeling like we got a little problem with our bow, and so T-Bone kind of gets us through it. And sometimes, literally, it's just a mental preparation. It might not be something technically has to do to the bow. He might just act like he works on a little bit, like I fixed it,
A placebo.
Yeah. The greatest thing that we can all do for hunting too is to take somebody new that's never been hunting before.
The reason I elk hunt is because my dad took me squirrel hunting and deer hunting and turkey hunting
with a rifle.
With a rifle. And one thing, the evolution of that eased me into it.
Snowball down the hill.
It's snowball down the hill.
He lit your candle.
Yeah, he lit my candle.
Well, not only did he light his candle, but now it's a freaking bonfire.
Yeah.
I mean,
we don't claim to be great at anything. Our only arrogance, I would say, that we have is we don't feel like we'll be out fun. So if you're in camp with us, ain't nobody going to out fun us. And so I always thought, if you think about your alliance of those schools come from the state you live in, period. So it's like Alabama, Roll Tide. Well, it's like, man, did you go to Roll Tide? Hell no. They ain't even rode by the university outside of football season. And so I always thought, why not? Maybe I can get Nick and T-Bone to help finance this, since they're so rich.
Yeah, I mean, I figured as it works out in the partnership, they're the investors and backers, right? And
yes.
Right.
Well, first of all, if you go on Facebook and if they'll quit hunting all them high fences and those deer chained to the tree with their Hoyts. But I was thinking we start America University.
Yeah.
A Division I school, America University. And just think about the people in Alabama. Just picture the old redneck, and I can say redneck because I am one, and I live in Georgia on the Alabama line. Can you imagine all of a sudden you hear the announcer come in? How would it announce if Alabama plays America University? How would it sound, Nick? The Roll Tide, Alabama Roll Tide.
From Tuscaloosa, Alabama, it's Roll Tide, the Alabama Crimson Tide against the American flags.
Yeah, exactly. So even Alabama guys are sitting on the bench thinking, I might have to pull for America on this one.
Yeah, they might.
I just think it's a marketing genius plan.
I think, and you're not limiting your market at all. Maybe to the borders of the United States, but that's who we want anyway.
It could be the University of America Americans.
Yeah, and the Americans. Who are you going to pull for? Some elephant that calls himself Crimson Tide, or the Americans?
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a good archery talk. I'm enjoying this.
I think it's fantastic. Yeah, we are sitting here in the Hoyt booth. We've got the shooting lanes over here. People are checking out the new bows.
We might get shot.
We
saw one dude practicing, and he hit the G up there.
He hit the G up there, yeah. And get Hoyt. He definitely got Hoyt. He get it.
Travis, are you the best archer among the group here?
I don't.
He's going to be humble, but yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like of the three, who is the best shooter? Like if you
wait a second. Are we going to go by the last tournament that we were all three in together?
That's right.
Wait a minute.
What happened?
That's true, Nick.
I'll let you tell the story, T-Bone.
Yeah.
No, the last tournament that we were all three in, actually, Nick, he did it.
Wow.
Yeah, he's the champion.
I think T-Bone let me win, though. No, you got third.
Did you give him?
Yeah, I got on the podium. That's how they say in motocross, right? I got a podium, right?
Yeah. Now, T-Bone's definitely the best. He's the man. I mean, all I've ever done is shot animals. I'm not a tournament guy. I've never shot any tournaments. I've never even. That's about when we do appearances or trade shows, and we do like a celebrity shoot kind of a thing. Those are really the only tournaments I've ever done. And the Realtree Edge pro staff meeting kind of tournament, we did that. But T-Bone, he's lights out, man. He's the best by far.
Lucky. Just lucky.
T-Bone is he's the wrench. He's the wrench of the group and the shooter. I mean, he's a good shot only because obviously practice, but he's also a student of archery. And so, a lot of times we pick on T-Bone a lot. We pick on each other a lot.
Yeah.
But T-Bone is definitely a wrench, a bow wrench, I call it. Obviously, pro shop. He owned a pro shop. He competed in a lot of tournaments. And so, even when we get in situations to where myself and Nick are not feeling like we're shooting good, or we feeling like we got a little problem with our bow, or maybe something's clanging or anything, I mean, we start yelling for T-Bone like a 5-year-old girl when she thinks a ghost in her room, calling for mom.
Like a teddy bear. You need a teddy bear. Where's T-Bone?
Yeah, exactly. And so T-Bone kind of gets us through it. And sometimes literally it's just a mental preparation. It might not be something technically has to do to the bow. He might just act like he works on a little bit and like I fixed it,
A placebo.
Yeah. It's a little bit embarrassing for me because I've never been into the technical aspect of my bow.
Yeah.
I leave that up to T-Bone. He gets me set up, gets all my stuff dialed in, and I've always just been into the animals. Like I love animals. I know all the different species and
so you gear it down.
Oh,
you gearing it down?
No, I dumb it down.
You dumb it down. Okay,
yeah. So T-Bone's a man. He sets up all my stuff and gets me shooting, and then from there I can shoot well. But he's the brains behind my bow. I can tell you that.
Well, thanks for all the accolades. Yeah, absolutely. But
how's your head feeling about right now?
I'm telling you, y'all got another set of headphones.
Can your shoulders hold
small on that body?
Yeah, we might need to we got a bigger size headset.
Yeah, but I've just been passionate about it. I mean, I played football in high school, but I never was good. I was just a big guy on the line, and I picked up my first bow I'd shot earlier on, but just out of high school, I got into tournaments and just absolutely fell in love with.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said about the magical flight of the arrow. I mean, just like you can build a better mousetrap, and you have to suppress your nervous center. Just everything about archery, about working on the bow and finding the right spined arrows and tuning and doing all that, as well as working on yourself, because we all know that the equipment's one thing, but once you got a good solid unit, it's going to stay together. You got to work on yourself. So, it just, no matter how good you are, you can always be better. And I just love the competition, the people involved. It's closely related to hunting. So, if you're checking off pros and cons down through there, there's just so many pros on it. And I've just been so passionate about it for so long. And sometimes it almost sounds like I'm mad or debating when we're sitting there having conversations. But it's not that I'm mad. I'm just so passionate about it.
They call that the devil's advocate. I think.
When we were last night, we were talking about broadheads and kinetic energy and FOC and all that stuff, man. And I felt like I was yelling at everybody at the dinner table, but I was just like, I was just passionate about it. It wasn't like I was saying that just what I believed in and stuff like that. I just
and it's not that T-Bone's that old, but he's in his late 40s, and so there's all these guys gathered around that are in their mid to late 20s, and they're all talking about their arrows and what they shoot and what happened here, and T-Bone's kind of setting them straight on their spines and what they should be shooting for FOC and how their arrows should set up and why this does that and why does that. And I had like 20 guys gathered around like story time. T-Bone's telling them all.
Around the campfires. Like, here, let me take you all to school for a moment.
Yeah, he's good, man.
Exactly.
And just basically, like, owning a store for 12 or 14 years, I wanted to, like, when a person came in, I wanted to make sure that, one, there's a lot of shops or a lot of people that just say, oh, you need to shoot that. Why? Well, it's the best. And then they don't back it up. Whereas I'm a pro and con type of person, meaning like, well, here's the advantages to it and here's the disadvantages. Well, this may not be work for you, but if you weigh out all the pros and cons, you can find something that's going to work for you, and then you can kind of answer your own question. This is why it's going to work, and why it's going to be beneficial to your setup. So,
I have like a partner, Aaron Snyder, has worked on the podcast a lot. He works at Kafaru, and he'll do a review on a product. And one of the things he did recently was bino harnesses, and he was comparing. He's like, you can't just say this one's the best.
Yeah,
right.
He's like, it's the best for this situation with this individual, but this one's better for this, and it's not always just this is the clear winner.
Yeah,
everything has those pros and con lists, and you kind of have to weigh them out, and then you have to decide for yourself, like what are my needs.
That's right.
Well, one of the things that I think is great about T-Bone too is he sold his bow shop 10, 12 years ago. And so you would think that most guys that sell their bow shop and they get away from the everyday grind of working on bows would kind of lose some of that technical advantage knowing. But T-Bone, he keeps up on all the new technical stuff. Yeah. When the bows come out, he knows what cams are new, what limbs are there, what's going on. And so that's one of the things that I think is really pretty remarkable is that he is on top of all the newest technology, even though he's not working in the shop every day. We're on the road several hundred days out of the year, and especially T-Bone, he travels more than anybody. And so to be able to stay on top of all the newest technologies, know how to wrench on all these brand new bows that are coming out, I mean, I think it's pretty cool. And I'm envious because I wish I was as good as him.
And I'm not that way. As a prime example, myself, I worked in a pro shop actually for a friend of ours that, at the time T-Bone had a shop up in Hogansville, Georgia, and a guy named Shane Collier had a shop in Manchester, Georgia. And I would say T-Bone and Shane, that was the most sought after two guys to pro shop to come buy a bow from. And I worked there, and at that time, man, I was so engrossed in learning how to work on bows and stuff. But now, like Nick just said, man, I'm so lost in so many aspects of certain geometries and risers and the way and why certain things are to go down and how to wrench on them, because I've lost that edge. I mean, literally, I was still setting up bows with a filler gauge, even though some tournament archers maybe still shoot filler gauge. I mean, the Hunter Supreme Rest was the Supreme Rest. Point Blank had a bow, you remember?
Yeah, TM Hunter.
Exactly. And the way before any of the cam and a half that Hoyt come out with, and
that's why they called it Point Blank, because you had to be that close to be accurate.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Well, and literally bows back then, they were like $200-$300, a piece. So it's changed a lot.
You guys were over here meeting, greeting people, and signing some autographs and stuff like that, and kind of hanging out with the crowd. And there's a big crowd out here, here to hang out, meet you, right? My question is, you guys have been wildly popular. And you got a huge following, and I want to ask you, like, what do you think it is about what you guys have done that has made you just so well liked?
I'd start with that. I think the biggest thing is, one is our team come together out of friendship and out of working together, some professionally and just enjoying our company. But I think the main reason we've had success is because we don't claim, and nor will we ever, or do we think we're better. We're not coming to the show. We don't do a show because we think we're better than the bow hunters that are here or in the industry, whether they're part of the industry or whether they view shows. We seriously like to have a good time. I mean, we take it serious. Don't get me wrong. We want to shoot big deer. We want to have a good time. We want to be successful. We don't want to be chumps and make bad shots and don't know our equipment and be not legit. But at the same time, we all grew up hunting and fishing and loving the outdoors. But we know more than that. We don't look at hunting like snowboarding or motocross racing. I don't believe there's a such thing as a Shaun White of hunting, where because it's not a competition. Everybody's just a hunter. Matter of fact, we don't even believe in the word professional hunter. And I think sometimes if you're not careful with that, it becomes a turnoff to the consumer, because they too, even though they're contractors, even though they drive a truck, they're every bit as good a hunter as any of us.
Well,
John Dudley, Cameron Haynes, Leah Tiffany, it doesn't matter.
I think it kind of goes back to what you were just talking about earlier. I mean, you talk about Nick, you're like, man, as long as he tunes up my bow and gets it right for me, I'm good. He's obviously owned a pro shop, right? He was a professional at working on a piece of equipment.
Right. Yeah.
But as a hunter, none of us are really professionals at it, because that's what it is. It's just hunting. And just because it's hunting doesn't mean that it's successful every time.
We like to use the label as an outdoor entertainer. I mean, the only thing it is we're just kind of documenting us going out and having a good time. We hope that we relate to the blue collar, Billy Joe lunch bucket, if you will, to where those guys like, man, we hope that when you're watching the show, absolutely, we all want to kill a big deer. But thank goodness that things aren't hinged on us killing the biggest deer. So whether we're doe hunting, eradicating in New Jersey and Pennsylvania or Texas or whatever, that's hunting. Everybody can relate to that. Absolutely, we want to kill a 200-inch deer, but if first come, first serve. If old Slickhead walks in, she's going to get it.
I like that, hunting entertainer, because it's so often when you're like hunting athlete or hunting professional hunter, it builds competition into the
it does. Well, and you see it here at the ATA a lot, as far as that competitive nature, which we are competitors. Everybody wants to have, we're doing a podcast. You guys have one of the better podcasts, and y'all want to stay on the top, and y'all want to be the best.
Yeah.
We want to be the top-rated hunting show on Outdoor Channel. And represent and sell as many Hoyts as any of their ambassadors.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think – I think sometimes, and it's not even sometimes the industry's fault, or let's say a hunting show's fault, or even a personality's fault, that you come to a show, because if all of a sudden we decide that we want to get into snowboarding, I'll just use Shaun White as an example, we know that we have to figure out a way to immediately be better than a Shaun White, to beat Shaun White.
Right.
But in reality, there's nobody that ever should come here to compete with Michael Waddell or Cameron Haynes. We should just join into the crusade, almost like, passing the word of the Christian religion. We're just part of this preaching, part of this fun, part of this entertainment, part of a different style and culture to show the other side of how you do it. So there's no competition there. But a lot of times you come in like, well, I killed this deer, I killed this elk, I did it public land, I did it this way, did it that way. It really doesn't matter as long as it's helping sell hunting license.
That's right.
And so therefore there can't be a Shaun White of our industry, because the way I look at it is Mark Drury is no better than me, I'm no better than him. Cameron Haynes no better than me, I'm no better than him. Nor are any of us any better than the contractor in Alabama who worked 50 hours a week, who is going to get a chance just to hunt his private lease or public ground. We all have different opportunities. Now, I think there are some hunters that's pretty solid and good. Yes.
And it's our job to keep people involved and get new people involved in the sport and promote the sport and keep it alive. That's the biggest part of what we're supposed to do.
I think approaching it as an entertainer.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
Because now you're like, hey, I'm not the expert here. I'm just here to bring you along, and you can join in on my hunt and have some fun. I think too, though, that you guys like Travis. He has human beings in general. Each of us have a wealth of knowledge that we gain throughout our lifetime, learning new things.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be this formal platform where you're sharing these technical details every week on how you're building a new bow or whatever, but you're able to still share not just the entertainment part, but you guys do bring a wealth of knowledge to the table too.
Yeah.
And people can glean from that, but they're doing it through the entertainment medium.
Yeah, and you can do it without a chip on your shoulder or your chest poked out. You can do it with a humble and tactful manner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Almost like, hat in your hand type thing. Say, like, hey, guys, this has worked out good for me, and I'm not saying that I know everything or, hey, follow us along as we go to Kansas and we're hunting whitetails and we're having a great time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We hope we kill a 180, but you know what? I'm going to be happy if it's a 130.
That's right, because when it comes down to it, I mean, we're lucky. We're lucky to be sitting here right now.
Absolutely.
I wake up every morning thinking this is going to end sometime. I mean, what am I going to do when this is over with? Because I hope it doesn't end, because I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah.
I'm not a rich man by any means, but I love what I do, and there's nothing I'd rather.
You're rich in that.
Yeah,
you're rich in just that.
And working for a guy like Michael, who has basically low expectations to have a guy like me working for him. So,
Hey, you guys are like the A-team. Somebody's got to be the face.
Well,
right? Here's all I'm saying is, but Brian, to take that another step is, and you guys have spoken about this before. I follow you guys on social media. I've known you guys for a lot of years back when I worked at Easton. And the thing that I find that that's interesting is, and you guys grew up in an era, right? Television, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have television. We have magazines, and we are able to consume the entertainment through those mediums. And now we have a medium that everyone can consume, people within our industry and people outside of it. Mm-hmm. And I think that you guys do a really good job, and I hope that people understand that, like, now more than ever, you guys, like you say, being humble, being tactful about it, not having your chest pushed out or a chip on it.
That's right.
Now more than ever, anybody in this world has an opportunity to do the same things you guys have done for years. How beautiful is that?
Yeah. That's beautiful. And again, getting back to that Shaun White metaphor,
the competition.
Everybody can't be Shaun White, but we all can be somebody, an ambassador, and be yourself and be something that's special to the industry. Even if you only hunt the weekend, whether you're hunting in public ground or a private lease, it doesn't matter. It's about different things. There's women, there's kids. In the world of hunting, where we're trying to sometimes make it look hard, think about what we're trying to sell. I've got kids now that are 5 and 6 years old that I'm successfully getting shooting bows and being successful. Every one of my kids shot a deer and a turkey by the time they were 6 years old. So obviously, is it hard? There's nothing more challenging than hunting a wild animal to get within range. But the whole deal is, it is difficult. But what we got to do is, it is truly for everybody and achievable for everybody of all walks of life, all financial statuses, all different shapes, sizes. And I think it even gets back to the T-Bone thing in archery. T-Bone talked about sports. Every kid's not born to play, Division I college football or even high school football.
Not everybody can be accepted to American University.
No, that's exactly right. Exactly. But we did find out, by the way, that T-Bone's still eligible if we get American University.
Oh, heck yeah.
I'm going to sign a fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed on that one.
They'll need a good water boy.
But I just think that hunting and archery especially is something, if somebody's listening to this and you're looking for something that could be your calling,
it's ageless.
You might be fantastic about it. And the good thing about it, when you talk about archery, there is a competition, so you can be judged based on winning a competition, and they are the elite archers. You got your Randy Ulmers and people like Levi Morgan are burning it up right now, and so that is a competition. But when it comes to the hunting, I love to be able to watch a show. Maybe it's my buddy Fred Eichler that I'm watching, and I'm like, he might not have to tell me he's a good hunter, but I'll watch it, and I'm like, dude, old Fred can move through the woods. That boy can hunt, or vice versa, whatever show. But I think sometimes we don't have to, it's not a competition.
Well, that's what I was going to ask is, we live in a world today with social media being what it is, and there's such an opportunity to promote hunting in a positive way and to build up other hunters and archers. Mm-hmm. But what do you see out there that you think is destructive that should probably change?
I mean, I think all the guys can chime in on this, and I think one of the biggest things is hunting. There's so many divisions. The compound bow hunter or the long bow hunter versus the compound, or the compound versus the crossbow, and then the bow hunter, the archery industry, or Pope and Young against Boone and Crockett, or the archery club versus the rifle club. I think what we see now is, if you don't have unity and if you don't quit backbiting, and we don't figure out how to make this more mainstream and kind of have a family unity to it. And we got to realize everybody likes different things. I mean, some people would enjoy the fact of saying, you know what, I'm going to get this pack, public ground, I'm going to try to get this tag drawn, and I'm going to go pack in with a tent and a sleeping bag, 6 arrows, some broadheads, and I'm going to camp out here and eat Mountain House for the next 15 days until I kill this mule deer. That literally might be fun. I mean, there's times in my life I think I have done that, and I think that was fun. That's what I wanted to do. Yep. But at the same time, you try to tell that to a lady that's that's maybe just getting into hunting. That would be a guaranteed ticket to never ever pick up a bow.
A lady? What about T-Bone?
What about T-Bone? Yeah, T-Bone.
Serious.
So in my mind, I think what we got to do is embrace it. If a man wants to dove hunt and sit on a 5-gallon bucket and eat a Swiss cake roll and shoot his limited doves, celebrate him.
If he does push-ups by just laying down and getting up and shooting a duck,
there you go.
If that's the way you work out, do your thing. But if you want to go out and you want to pack in, like Michael just said, I think it's always just
find your niche.
Find what you
gets
love.
You happy.
And support those that do it differently. And
don't shame the others. We got to stay together. If it's legal, whether it's a wrist rocket season, a compound recurve gun,
grenade launcher,
it doesn't matter. If it's legal, absolutely, let's celebrate it. You know what I mean?
For me, it's like the competition and the judgment. Like, remove it, take it out of there.
Yeah.
There's no place for it, because when you introduce competition, then there's animosity. There's proving yourself better, and then you're also judging someone else. Because if you can knock that person down and build yourself back up, then you're better than someone else. And I think that just breeds a negative environment.
And it's even more important for us because there's so many eyes and stuff on us. We need to make sure that folks get that from us, and we hope that our show shows that, to where, that they want to share camp with us, that there's guys out there that are working 50 hours a week. They only get to hunt one day. Pennsylvania, you can't hunt on Sunday. Yeah. So they're getting one day a week. So we don't need to make them feel inferior because we're spending 7, 8, 10 days or 30 days in a row doing different states, and they only get to hunt one day and they kill a doe.
I'll take a lot of heat, because I'm kind of libertarian when it comes to technology. If guy wants to use a compound, great. If a guy wants to shoot a crossbow, I don't care.
Yep, I'm the same way.
And I'm the Gritty Bowmen Podcast, and people are like, crossbows aren't bow hunting, and I'm like, neither is a rifle. I don't care.
It's hunting, though.
It's hunting. And for my part, I'm like, I just let a guy use whatever tool he wants. It's not about the weapon.
Go by the game and fish laws and the seasons, and again, if you want to voice your opinion on what you think the season should be. I mean, obviously,
I think it's authoritarian, though. It's it's like fascist. You're sitting there telling me that I need to be shooting a compound or it's not real hunting. That sort of stuff drives me nuts. Because now you're pushing your ideal on me. Or a guy will say, I don't hunt with a rangefinder. It's just, I've heard that. Great, don't hunt with one.
I mean, there's obviously a site that was just released by a company this week that is fully automated and electronic at ranges, and there's no pins anymore. It's just a dot.
Or a Bluetooth knock.
And a Bluetooth knock. I mean, there's all these technology advances, right? And everybody says, but you go to the longbow guy. Well, we just shoot a stick and string. And it's like,
and I'm okay with that. It's only when that individual then says, everybody needs to do it my way.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is at the end of the day, if a person chooses they want to have a site that basically, does all the geometry for you, gets you the reading, the everything, your distance, and you're able to send it, great. If that's your thing, and that cuts back your time or whatever, great, you do you. I may still like a 3-pin adjustable.
Look, it's the same thing. Like
you hunt.
I feel the same way about drugs and the outlawing them or not outlawing. Like, I've never smoked a joint and I've never had a beer.
Right.
I haven't, but I don't care if it's legal or illegal. Like, I'm like, let people decide.
You're going to choose what you're going to do.
That gets some people, they feel threatened by that idea.
Well, you're right, though. The ideology, and I think we've summed it up in just this chat, is the fact that the biggest destructive thing we got right now in the hunting industry is machoism. I think it is the male pride, ego, macho mentality. And I do think when it comes to, if you look at the man and woman right now in the industry, we have probably the most unbelievable ambassadors we've ever had in modern day, as far as the legit hunters that truly have passion, as T-Bone said, that truly love it. If they're not doing a podcast, if they're not doing a hunting show, they're going to hunt regardless.
Right.
Whether they got fans or haters, they're going to hunt regardless.
Yeah.
But when it gets down to it, men and women on both sides, to the women, it's not about just because you got a good-looking butt and camo. It's about, do you truly have passion to carry on and to promote? And when it gets down to it, I feel just like you do. I think everybody should have that opportunity to make that choice. Otherwise, I mean, my God, so if it makes me happy to take a compound bow 1 minute and to get a chance to shoot a legal deer in Georgia, and then maybe 2 days later, and it's in gun season in Georgia, and pull out a 30-06 and go shoot a nice buck 200 yards in a food plot, and for somebody to say, well, dude, that ain't hunting, well, that made me happy. So what am I, where'd you meet your wife? Did you meet her on freaking social media? Or did you meet her at a club or church? Are you happy at the end of the day? It don't matter if you met her wherever, if you met her in Okinawa when you're stationed over in Japan. Right. So why am I going to tell you how you and who you should marry? Don't tell me what I should hunt with. So I think hunting is something that's ours. It's it's the biggest gift that good Lord's give us. It's our renewable resource, period. And so I think that's what happens. Go by the game and fish laws and do it the way you want to. And I think we have to throw that little bit of.
You don't have to be the best.
No, you don't have to be the best.
It's okay to be mediocre. I mean,
you don't have to know everything
I'm not good at anything. I'm not a super athlete. I'm not the best shot in the world. I'm
me
just
neither,
medium.
Nick. Me neither.
And I mean, so have fun with it. And it's hunting. It's not USA Track or.
And I think that's it. Nick hit it too. It's like we don't claim to be great at anything. Our only arrogance, I would say, that we have is we don't feel like we'll be out fun. So if you're in camp with us, ain't nobody gonna out fun us. We're not. Sometimes you get serious. Sometimes you're not. And I mean, I'm telling you, I'm not saying it just for sentimental purposes. I've literally, Nick, T-Bone, and I, we have argued and fought like brothers from stupid things. And we've cried together in sentimental times, and we have laughed till our stomach was hurting. And there's probably a lot of times that if it hadn't have been for the fun nights, we'd have probably been in stand a little earlier. There's times that that maybe we got to stand late because we was having so much fun in our hunting camp, whether it was a tent camp in the middle of Arizona or whether it was in a place like
We've even had a shootout with cap gun pistols.
We had a shootout on one of our shows the other day.
That's a little difficult.
And so when it gets down to it, I think the number one factor is fun in all caps, man.
Yeah.
If it's shooting a bow or hunting or whatever it is, have fun.
I noticed that, and you can measure different hunts you've been on throughout the year, right? And years. And when I look back on the hunts that were the most fun, and if I'm being completely honest with myself, often it's not this most exotic experience that I had that was this super expensive hunt someplace, right? It's this like whitetail hunt I had in Texas with a couple of good buddies.
That's right.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
I'm like, why am I focusing so much on these other experiences when at the end of the day, the simple one is what fulfills me and makes me feel like
that's exactly right.
Great,
But so many people are afraid to kind of inner self admit that.
Yeah,
that are maybe.
But it is that camaraderie, though. Like at the end of the day, somebody said it today. The Catching Deers Bud, he was here and he said, hunting is a conduit for my friendships.
Yes.
It's what sort of forges these friendships and these familial bonds that I have. Mm-hmm. And I completely agree. And when that's the focus, I think when you're producing content, and whether you're the bone collector and you've got a show, or you're the blue collar worker down at the mechanic shop, it doesn't matter. When you're sharing content and it's about the experience and it's about the animal instead of you being better than someone else, it resonates. I think it's not just the hunting community though. I think it's this nation at large.
I think you're right.
I think it's human nature.
Right. Human nature.
Yeah. I see it a lot more than with the advent of social media. I see it more than ever where there's it's a chance for people to stand up and say, I'm morally superior to this person.
Yeah.
Because I use a compound, or because I am a stay-at-home mom, or because, you could take your pick, right? And when you can take away the I'm better than someone else and just celebrate what you do.
Typically what you're summing up here, number one, is a huge form of insecurity. And number two is, along with that insecurity, what happens is a lot of times the people that might say that I'm better at this because I do it this way is their self-doubt of saying, really, no, I don't think I am better than you, but this one little point makes me feel better.
Right.
And so I think there is an insecurity that lives very big in our hunting industry that has to be snuffed out. It's okay to say, I don't know. If somebody asks you, what's the brace out on that new Hoyt and what they do, what's the geometry points, or what's this and what's the FOC of your arrow, it's okay if you're a hunting personality or just a guy that, that might be in a pro shop to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, this industry is bad. Nobody can say, well, here technically, the brace side I think is very better, 0.3 differences in percentage, 5 over. I think they divided that. I talked to the engineer the other day. I don't know. I do not have a clue.
But I'll tell you what I do know.
Running a podcast
is it shot really great.
Yeah.
And I got that animal, so it worked for me.
Yeah. Running a podcast, it removes a lot of stress to be able to just have I don't know as like in my back pocket all the time. Because you get out there and you're talking and someone will say, and I'll be on there and I'll be like, I have no idea. This is way above my head. And I'm okay with that. And there's nothing wrong with it.
And even getting to a lot
you can't know everything.
Like Texas, you talk about having fun in Texas and bait. I love it, and we realize that this is what we want to celebrate. So we'll be hunting. Let's just talk Texas, for a minute, where obviously you corn the senderos. They're not eating dirt. They're eating corn this place there. There's not a lot of stuff to eat. There's not food plots. It's a desert. Yeah. And so what's wrong with the man who, whether he's killed anything or shot everything, to say, dude, we can legally put out corn? How much?
Right.
Stack it up, dog. Stack it up.
Make a pile.
Matter of fact, don't put it at 40 yards. Put it at 20. I want to use my top pin. Yeah. I mean, but there's such an insecurity in the male species. Women are right when they say that men have egos. We have such a, okay, if I'm hunting over corn, I know I'm not doing it. But you know what? Put it out there about 50. Put it out there about 50.
The thing is,
just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
And the thing is, I think that over time, I'll do both, right? I'll go out with the cheater bar, right? And I'll shoot a deer. I shot a deer in Oklahoma with a rifle. And then, but then the next week I shot one with a bow in Texas, spot and stock. And it's like, they're different, and I celebrate them all.
Well, you challenge you're in different moods. You challenge yourself to different things. The same with us. I mean, the last several years, we always start T-bone early season, don't we? Like a Kentucky this year. Mm-hmm. We're going to elk season, and there's no easy way to hunt elk unless you go to High Fence in Missouri. I mean, which I don't know if they have that. I'm sure there is somewhere. But the whole deal is, there's different parts of the year, and then we go into the rut and say October, November, and you grind it out, and those are the times you hunt all day. And typically in those areas, you don't have an opportunity to use bait. By the time we get to South Texas, I can tell what we want to do. Right. We want some quesadillas. We want some carne asada. We want to overeat. We want to sit around, watch some college football, hunt an hour and a half in the morning over corn, and laugh and cut up and tell every joke that we've learned new one amongst ourselves.
Totally.
For that year.
Brian and I have talked about this a lot of times where, to your point, Michael, is oftentimes there's a lot of different types of hunts that I love. All of us are talking about, shooting turkeys, shooting whitetail, shooting elk, whatever it is, pursuing those animals, and that pursuit and that adventure is everything. And how you do it, if you maybe do it from a lodge, or if you do it from a tent, or if you do it from your house, it does not matter. Sometimes, it was funny, we went on a hunt in Montana, and you had just gotten back from, where were you before that?
Montana?
Yeah, before our elk hunt.
I was Colorado.
12,000
feet.
12,000 feet, and he was doing the hardcore thing, backpacking in and doing all that. Well, then we go to Montana, and we've got a house and a lodge.
Alfalfa fields.
Watching college football and enjoying ourselves. And we talked about, there's people out there that say, oh, my gosh, you guys are
that ain't hunting.
Glamping, that ain't hunting, And I was like, dude, trust me, sometimes it is nice to just have a more leisure hunt.
Now, that doesn't...
where you're with your friends, but you go out and you hunt hard and you come home and you get a little bit of relaxing, you got a TV, some tacos.
The reality is, when I watch a show like that, I don't disrespect the people that are doing the Texas thing.
No.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're funny. I'm enjoying it, right? But then I really get into the mountain hunt where the guy starved to death.
That was
Adam
tough.
Greentree, there's a grizzly bear charging you.
I can tell you that people that watch the Texas hunts and knock them have never done it.
Yeah.
Because it is the funnest thing to go to Texas and shoot 8 or 10 deer in 5 days, shoot a couple hogs,
Nick.
Armadillos,
We're
possums, skunks, anything that moves. I mean, it is a blast.
I've been raised in the Western hunting culture, right? Yeah. So if you road hunt, you're the devil himself, right? If you use a comp, or you use a
if you use a compound,
you got to make it as hard as you can.
Totally,
just
use a rifle.
And it's funny in Texas. I grew up with my dad on the logging roads in Oregon. They would get in the car and they had they had their compounds bow. We'd arrive in the Volkswagen van with the sliding door open, and then when you saw a deer, guys would jump out while the van's still moving. You lay down, hunker down,
do a drive-by,
and then you wait for the car to drive by, and then you take your shot. And we were in Texas just having a blast, and there's really no rules, so you get to have a blast.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we are road hunting, right? Like, we're doing the antelope drive-by, and his brother got on the back of the tailgate with me and dropped me off 17 yards from this big buck I was trying to get to. Doesn't move. I couldn't get the shot off. But they just people would frown on that as a road hunt, and that's not hunting.
Well,
and I'm like, you know what? I don't care.
At the end of the day, it's all hunting. And something that we like to always say is the pride factor. It's like if you're killing a whitetail, because that's where we mostly come from. So if you're killing a whitetail, the epitome of the ultimate whitetail hunt would be a pre-rut. Illinois, Iowa, you're snort wheezing, you're grunting, you're rattling him in, you're pulling him off. It's a rut in the heavy timber, no food plots, no bait, no nothing. And
just
that,
raw.
If you're trying to say that this is a 10 factor on, the epitome of a pride factor hunt, that's the best way to kill a deer. Well, does that mean that the guy that killed the same 150-inch buck in Texas, he drank 2 pots of coffee and cooked bacon before he went out there, sat there for an hour, and the deer came in and ate corn? It's a 150-inch buck.
Yeah.
It's just didn't do it under the same circumstances. But we as, the industry and stuff, we have a different perception.
But even for myself, like Bud mentioned it today, he's like, my favorite deer that I've shot, it's actually one that I belly crawled through the snow to.
Yeah.
And achieved this really hard to do thing, and it's my smallest deer.
Yeah.
And it's ironic because, that's a personal achievement, right?
Yeah.
And when you see someone else do that, you're like, that was really awesome. But I don't think that has to come at the expense of also celebrating the other stuff.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
And the ideology of it, and I think,
it's okay to admire this stuff.
You never know where a podcast is going to go, but I've enjoyed the way this has went, because what we've basically identified is the problem and also the solution, because what we're saying is it's nothing wrong with any of those types of hunt, because we all are different. I mean, like Nick and I talked a lot, Nick and I have never killed a brown bear with a bow and arrow. And so obviously we know there's going to be some expense, and we know it's going to be a lot of time away from our family, because obviously I would say you need a good 15, 20 days to spend there.
Right.
And obviously if you ever been to Alaska, I don't care if you're hunting a moose or a grizzly bear or a brown bear, you're going to have some elements that's going to be pretty tough, not necessarily physically, but definitely mentally in the rain and the weather. And so with that, Nick and I want that challenge, and obviously that's not going to be like a Texas hunt.
Right.
But I think personally, the whole magic in this is to, like you said, the hopscotch. I'll be honest, I don't want to shoot every deer I kill in a baited environment. I'm not against it, but there are times that I enjoy the fact of going to Iowa and reading sign and getting in these funnels and knowing this is a soybean field and they're probably bedding in the CRP, and then I got my horns and maybe a decoy. The whole deal is you find security. I don't think the man who finds complete security and just doing it the easy way. I think once you've done it all and you've done the gauntlet, that's where the security is found. The insecurity disappears. I'm that way.
It's easier for me to talk about road hunting a whitetail in Texas when I've climbed to the peak of a mountain and shot a mountain goat with a bow. Right?
You're capable of not needing to shoot nothing out of a vehicle.
Yeah, and I've done it the one way with whitetail one way and I've done it this other way with whitetail, and it's like or elk rather. And so you start to figure out like there's private land versus public land, and you can always challenge yourself more. You can always like add levels of challenge to it, and we'll do that, I think, as an evolution of a hunter. But I'll still love to go down and shoot some pigs that off of
and how
bait.
can somebody tell a
food.
kid that grew up in Texas, since the time he was 6 years old, he's been hunting over corn in Texas, that's all he's ever done? How can you tell him that's wrong?
Yeah,
Exactly.
you can't tell him that. And, you know, I went on my very first whitetail hunt this last year. In fact, I went with a rookie, Levi Morgan. You know, he doesn't really know much about it. But anyways, he took me. We went to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And shot pigs, and I shot my first buck.
He's a student of Nick's.
Is he a student? Yeah.
Archery only.
I figured, yeah, he takes your class, doesn't he? I really enjoyed it, and I've done my whole life as a Western hunter to what we've been speaking to. And I think the overtone of this podcast and what I've loved, and it's one thing that my mother taught me that I love, is she always said, son, you know, we all have a light in us to shine and to show. And she says, putting out somebody else's candle or light doesn't make yours any brighter.
No.
That's right.
That's a good analogy. I like
That's
that.
beautiful.
I'm going to use that in my next seminar.
If you could teach Levi that, because he, you know,
Because
he's
he
really
made you
good.
feel about this big.
Yeah.
Stuff your candle.
Well, he did, because we lost a bet. I made one of the most prolific archers. I made a bet with him and said, Levi, all right, we both got our bucks. We got him like, he got first day, I got my second day. We still had like four days left.
Yeah.
I'm like, we can do pigs or we can do a doe competition. What we were going to do is we're going to take all the doe meat and we're donating it to a local church.
Okay.
I said, so the more does we can get and fill all of our tags, the better we're going to do to help the community. But here's the competition. You know, speaking to, let's not be competitive.
I know,
but
this
it happens.
Again, you
I
got
said,
the fun
Levi,
fact.
we'll do a competition where the person with the most, closest to the 12 ring, and when you weigh the deer, the most weighed doe. Well, he won both of them, and the bet was that I got a neck tattoo, and he drew Hillary Clinton's logo across my
No way.
I seen that.
Awesome.
And we went, and I'm in Pawhuska, Oklahoma. There's definitely no Democrats there. And I am in this restaurant, and, dude, I got looks, pictures. I had a girl come up to me, and she was expressing how disappointed she was. I was like, listen, sweetheart, before you go any farther, this was a bet that I lost. I'm not in her camp, I promise. She's like, oh, good, this is going to wash off tomorrow. but I just,
That is fantastic.
I
gave me some ideas for some shows on both.
I love how the conversation went today. I appreciate, and I know Brian does too, you guys coming on the podcast. So much thanks to Hoyt for having us here and allowing us to do this. And what's been shared today, I think, is powerful. I think it's something that each of us at this table believe in, and that we're all striving to do our part as, owners of companies or podcasts or entertainment. We're doing it, and I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. So I thank you.
That means a lot, man.
We've been given a platform, and something I was wanting to add to too is like in this day and age, we're struggling because we have so many distractions with kids, getting them out there, and then just like Michael and Nick, having allowing bait, and then there are states that have bait and stuff. If it these kids are so distracted by video games or phones or whatever, if they're not, like we all grew up. You go 2 or 3 days sometimes and not see a deer, know, and then now if they're not seeing game, they're going to lose interest because their minds are working so much faster. So I want to make sure.
I think the greatest thing that we can all do for hunting too is to take somebody new that's never been hunting before. Try to get a kid that's maybe comes from a family that doesn't hunt, or that's from a single has a mom. Doesn't have a dad or somebody to look after him, or a lady that's never been hunting, or your neighbor that's never done it before.
Yeah.
Take somebody new and introduce them to hunting, because that's really what's going to keep this going, and the kids especially. So,
or at least light their candle.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is light up their candle. I mean, light up their world. But by us sharing, I mean, if we were to hold our light, that's selfish. That's wrong. If we have something that we love and are passionate about and that we want others to rally to, then why would we hold that light, and shun others from seeing it? Giving that to somebody else. It has to be shared, or it's going to, or that candle is going to burn out.
Yep.
So in prep for today, I was watching a bunch of Bone Collector episodes last night. Getting on there and watching a few, and being a Western hunter, and being mostly almost all social media, I don't consume a lot of like whitetail video,
right?
And I was watching it, and I got to hand it to you. It was just on the fun factor, on the entertainment factor, you're on top of and it was really enjoyable. I watched a few episodes with Dwayne the Rock Johnson over there.
There you go,
Don Cornelius.
But I wanted to say I also used a Bone Collector tree stand on Solo Hunter this year when I'm doing some stuff with Tim Burnett, and that thing was legit.
Awesome,
and
man.
It's not. I mean, I just went in and got it at the store, and I brought it with me, and I got it all set, and I got in the stand. I had 2 other brands with me, and literally, like, I was really impressed with that stand.
That means a lot.
And now I keep, like, I'm hoarding it. I left a couple in Texas and stuff, but not that one. It, like, had to come home. And it's comfy. I can stay in it all day, and it's quiet. I was like, hey, this is a good product.
That's awesome.
So,
good, man.
You know, it's funny, too, Brian. You think about, like, we're whitetail-based, I say, for the most part. And then, obviously, our background is, like, I come from a turkey calling background. I got started as a competition turkey caller. So you want to talk about something, I could talk another 2 hours on a podcast about turkey hunting. I passionately love it, and that's where I started guiding.
He's not lying either.
And I like to do it all
He's
kinds of
not being
different
modest,
ways.
is he?
Yeah, I love it. And so, but with that, it's so funny because, you know, we was talking about what we're saying here, and I guarantee you, most of us, at least I can say this, I'm sitting at the Hoyt table here on the podcast from the biggest archery show in the country. And it's not because even of a bow. I can tell you what got me into bow hunting. It was a 30-06 Remington Woodmaster.
Yeah.
My dad took me deer hunting the first time, and then I had a Remington.
You were sick of that thing kicking the crap out of you, so you went to a bow.
My shoulder couldn't take it anymore.
I was thinking the other day, I've shot over 25 elk with a bow and arrow. A redneck from Georgia who don't live out west. 90% of them on public ground.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that to brag or get back into this thing, but what I'm saying is the reason I elk hunt is because my dad took me squirrel hunting and deer hunting and turkey hunting.
with a rifle.
With a rifle. And one thing, the evolution of that eased me into it.
Snowball down the hill.
It snowballed down the hill.
He lit your candle.
Yeah, he lit my candle.
Well, not only did he light his candle, but now it's a freaking bonfire.
Yeah.
I mean, good night.
I think T-Bone hit on the head is the fact that in the love analogy of light the candle, all we got to do with these kids and these women, we're in the fraternity. We're going to hunt regardless.
Right.
Bait, no bait, Texas, Utah. If we quit doing this, you're going to go home without the show, a podcast, you're going to hunt.
Yeah.
Everybody here is going to hunt. If we get fired tomorrow and the industry says you guys cannot walk back in there, it's like, oh, well, I go hunting.
Yeah.
And so at the end of it, we're in there. So we can sit here and have these detailed conversations, but somebody somewhere took a squirrel hunting, or you know, maybe it was on the first riding around just glassing wild animals out west. And so if we can just get these kids involved in hunting in any kind of way, easy, simple, long as it's legal, I guarantee you they're going to end up going down the road and they're going to buy them a Hoyt one day. They're going to hunt a public ground. They're going to hike 10 miles up a mountain one day.
My 14-year-old daughter out, and I've taken her hunting like for elk a couple of times. We haven't got one yet, but I have video of us hanging out by the campfire or hanging out on the hill under a sleeping bag, kind of sitting there watching for elk, and where we just sit there and talk for an hour.
Yeah.
And I have this conversation. I won't publish it, right? It's just us, but I'll keep it forever because we're laughing and hanging out. And my daughter actually, she's not into, like we talked to Eva, she's not into being cold, wet, or tired.
Yeah.
But
who is?
She still wants to go on the hunt with her dad, and I think it's hard to. It's such a special thing.
Oh yeah,
it is unbelievable special. It's so.
And her evolution, who knows where it goes?
Right.
Who knows where it goes? But I know this: she wants to go outside. She wants to shoot her bow.
Yeah,
that's all that matters. And
you got to pour gas on the flame. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Dude, this.
All right, we better wrap up, or we're gonna get in trouble. I want to thank you guys for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it. And keep on, representing this lifestyle and just core American values,
Thank you, man. Same to you guys.
And figure out how to get that grant together, or, the business, and let's go with American
Y'all want to go in American
University? I'd like to apply. I think I might be able to. I might get accepted, maybe.
In closing, there's one thing I want to add, and I know I can say this on behalf of Nick and T-Bone, too, because obviously one thing that is competitive is the archery technology, and obviously Hoyt and this new Redworks bow. I think it's a superior bow, but what I will say, one thing that don't get talked about a lot is the family of these companies, and I will say this. Let's just say Hoyt one year, maybe their engineers took a break, or maybe they realized that marijuana was legal in Colorado. They just decided to take a year off. I don't know. The family of people that work at Hoyt, regardless of a great year like a Redworks year where it's like, oh, my God, did you shoot that new bow? or if they have an off year, I'm going to always shoot a Hoyt because of who I deal with, and the Jeremys,
relationships,
the Mike Loopers, these guys. I mean, all the way to Mr. Randy Walk, the president. I mean, a lot of the consumers don't get to see that side of it. The family atmosphere, the competitive atmosphere, and just the true love and nurture that they've given us. I know they've done that with you guys, and so I think when a lot of times that don't get talked about enough, it seems to be just a competition who's got the best bow. This year, I think Redworks is the best bow. By far, but you ain't gonna get no better family.
They ooze passion for archery. Yeah.
I said to Jeremy and Looper, and I was just talking to Randy before the show started yesterday, and I said, dude, and it's funny because Randy was kind of agreeing with me. He says, dude, when you guys made the Defiant, and I've shot the Defiant for the last 2 years, and I've had some great success with it. It's the best shooting bow I've ever shot from Hoyt's line.
Too.
And I said, I don't know how and I don't know why or what you're going to be able to do to make this any better, because I think you've made the best bow, and I really don't care what comes next. I'm just going to shoot this rest of my life. And he said, you just wait. And Randy said, yeah, trust me, here I am, the president, one of the engineers, and we're working on the project, and I'm so comfortable with the bow. And you guys know this. You get comfortable with the bow, and then the next year you got to shoot a new one.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? I got to change up my game. I got to change up my setup. And it's difficult for a guy who buys a bow and he has it for his life.
Whereas me, I'm like, I can't wait to play with the next one.
But I'm sitting here.
You're warped.
You're warped. I'm sitting here.
I'm more like you, Jordan, for sure.
I've got that Defiant. I freaking love it so much. And I've got my Redworks on order. But I did have an opportunity to shoot it at the local archery range, Wild Arrow in Utah, and it's smooth as butter.
Jordan told me,
and the Defiant was already smooth as butter, so I'm like, gosh dang, you guys made it even better.
When I first shot it, I thought that I was like, I already have the Carbon Defiant, which is I'm in love with, so I'm like, whatever. Then I shot it, and I was the draw cycle is my new favorite thing about it.
I think the draw cycle.
If you're trying to draw a bow slow and easy and all the way through, there's really not a valley or hump, I should say. And when I talked to Jordan, he's like, I like my heart. I'm like, you haven't shot it.
Yeah.
Go shoot that Redworks.
But that's the killer in you saying that. That draw cycle is important to a killer.
Yeah, I think so. Like,
seriously, I might not. I don't know if that's politically correct to say killer, but
no,
it is. You want that bow to
when
draw
you're
smooth.
one.
Yeah,
totally. Like you've got to get that thing back, especially after having hunted whitetails a little bit. I never did it before. You know, an elk comes through the woods and he's screaming to death and he's distracted by cows and he thinks he's going to fight a bull. You can dance a jig, and that bull's like, "What?
You snatch it through that valley."
But you try to do that with a whitetail at close range. I'm like just a doe at like 15 yards. I'm just doing the slowest movement, and I can pull it off.
And those bows that have that little jump jerk, but that's
right at the end.
Gone.
They got you when they're gone.
And I'm really liking that new grip too, and in the roller guard. Yeah, there's so many things. The adjustability of the cam, the wall, everything about it. I've been with them. This is my 22nd year I've been with Hoyt. Long before we had Bone Collector or Realtree, I shot competitively, professionally with them.
I also like that I can drop it down a mountain because I'm rough. I'm rough. Like Jeremy's like, I watched your film and you're using your bow as an arrest system when you slide, and I see you crawling with it. I'm like, there's cactuses on the ground. He's like, you're smashing the bow, and you can really beat it up.
I think what you guys said is a great close. There's Chat Money Mondays. Oh, look at those guns. Gun shows here, everybody. I think what you guys said is great, and I'd love to kind of close it with that, is that speaking to Hoyt, and here we are, this ode to Hoyt, but gratitude to them for letting us be here and to do this. Yeah. But I believe this, too, at my company, Mountain Ops. There's product, there's profit, and there's people. Yeah. And it's how a company prioritizes those things. And one thing that we always stand for, and it's the same thing I believe that you've spoken to, is that Hoyt puts its people first. Yes. Okay, because the people are the ones who are building the product that then helps the business be profitable. But it's when you start to shift those things and the company starts putting profit ahead. So we gotta sacrifice the quality of the product or whatever, and they forget about the people, not only their customers, their consumers, but the actual people that work at the company. And I love Hoyt for the same reasons you do. I've been a Hoyt guy all my life, and it's not just because of the bows and the product. It's like you said, you shot 22 years.
Mm-hmm. Pound it.
My man.
That's right.
But I love the people at Hoyt,
old.
too. They're a family. You young buck. Yeah. You and me, dude. Yeah, we went to school together.
That's right.
So,
but I also want to say, too, like, we're at the ATA show, and there are a lot of great bow companies out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's great people. This is the one that I have the relationship with, and it's sort of like, why fix what's not broken?
Absolutely.
I don't know about the other ones per se, but I know that this one is
it's home.
Yeah,
that's right. It's family. It's family for sure.
You guys are awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank y'all.
Despite our ever-changing, ever-indignant world with its growing ignorance of and indifference to the ways of the wild, I remain a predator, pitying those who revel in artificiality and synthetic success while regarding me and my kind as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood. I stalk a real world of dark wood and tall grass stirred by a restless wind blowing across sunlit water and beneath star-strewn sky. And on those occasions when I choose to kill, to claim some small part of nature's bounty for my own, I do so by choice, quickly, with the learned efficiency of a skilled hunter. Further, in my heart and mind, I know the truth and make no apologies for my actions or my place in time. Others around me may opt to eat only plants, nuts, and fruits. Still others may employ faceless strangers to procure their meats, their leather, their feathers, and all those niceties and necessities of life. Such is their right, of course, and I wish them well. All I ask in return is no one begrudge me, and all of us who may answer the primordial stirrings within our hunters' souls, my right to do some of these things myself.
What you just heard is a quote from M.R. James. We truly live in a world that is largely ignorant and indifferent to the ways of the wild. And although some regard us as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood, we have the opportunity to change the way these people view the hunter and the hunt. We can share our experiences and nature's bounty with those who employ these faceless strangers. And by so doing, we make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for the wild animals and the wild places we care so deeply about. Never stop sharing your passion for hunting and the outdoors. Our wild animals and our wild places depend on it.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowmen.
Gritty Bowmen.